If I'm being completely honest, and I am, I kind of thought that Texas, in this year's gubernatorial election, would kind of be out of reach for a Democrat. Remember, everybody said this was going to be a red wave year. So I was like, there's really no way any Democrat can win this year statewide as governor in Texas. That was my initial thinking maybe like 6 months ago. But then I started hearing and seeing reports of what was happening on the ground. And see, this is where I think Democrats lose elections. We don't focus enough on ground game and turnout. And elections are all about numbers, getting your people out. And now my thinking is this. If we're going to see an upset, a shocker, a race, if we're going to see something that none of us think or thought was possible, expect it to happen in the state of Texas. Look, this is more or less to say thank you for what you're doing and keep up the good work. Houston. You know, they famously say, Houston, we have a problem. Well, maybe not so much this year. Look, record turnouts at university and college campuses all across Houston to come and hear Beethoven or Rourke. Record turnouts. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. The fire marshals are expecting 1,600, 4,000 people show up. Fire marshals expecting 900 people, 3,500 people show up. It's crazy. And you know what else is crazy that's happening? They're polling likely voters. But my people were telling me by the thousands, young people are getting registered to vote in Texas. By the thousands, young women are getting registered to vote. Women of all ages are getting registered to vote in the state of Texas. Record numbers. So the polling data is going to have a very conservative lean to it. Because these new voters, these new registered voters, by and large, are registering and being motivated to register by the Dobbs decision. And if you're not familiar with that, that's the overturning of Roe v. Wade, a constitutional right that women have had in this country for 50 years, stripped away by a rogue activist Supreme Court. You always hear conservatives say the Supreme Court is an activist when they make decisions that they don't agree with. But when they make decisions to take away rights where there's been precedent for 50 years, that's not rogue, that's not activist. That's constitutional. You see how that works? Houston is responding, and they're responding in a good way. And I wanted to say, keep up the good work in Houston. Keep organizing. Houston, You have 2.3 million citizens. 2.3 million. Now, early voting is about to start in Texas in 4 to 3 days. If we can get out of that 2.3 million people who are citizens in Houston, if we can get 1.1 million people to participate in this election, to vote, we have a strong chance of winning the entire state. Look, 1.1 million out of 2.3 is not that much. It's less than half. And I think with the enthusiasm that we see, it's more than bound and likely to happen. So that should be our benchmark goal for Houston. Everybody in Houston, all of our people on the ground, you should be focused on turning out 1.1 million people in that state. If we can turn out more than that, superb, wonderful, beautiful, we'll definitely win. But we have to make sure we turn out at least half of the seat. And usually, midterm elections, there's no enthusiasm. It's curbed completely. People are like, I voted for the president. The president should be allowed to be able to do anything. That's the general sentiment. They don't realize that mayors, governors, Congress members, senators, they craft and create laws. The president just signs them. Another thing to bear in mind, Houston, is this. Remember when the power grid went out? Was there any leadership in the state? It was like the same time, simultaneously, as the grid went out. The leadership, if there ever was any in the state of Texas, went out as well. You had a United States Senator fly off to Cancun because his wife was cold in their house. True story. Flew off, abandoned the people of Texas to be in Cancun. But you know who didn't abandon you? You know who was there? Because I saw it. Beto O'Rourke. You know who was also there? Raised $5 million for citizens of this country who weren't even represented by her in her congressional district. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She raised $5 million for Texas residents who were impacted by the severe winter storm. That's a fact that you can go and look up. Beto O'Rourke was grabbing water off of backs of pickup trucks and delivering it. Senator Ted Cruz, who he had previously ran against for the Senate, was sitting on a beach in warm Cancun. But where was Governor Greg Abbott? Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody really ever saw the governor during this time either. There was a complete and utter leadership vacuum. Now they say if that happens once, Houston, it's a one-off. what about you, Valde? What do we consider that? I'm serious. What do we consider that? Was there leadership by the governor? Absolutely not. If anything, there was complete and utter silence. There was complete and utter disregard. No empathy was shown to the parents who lost their little babies. No empathy whatsoever by the governor. He said he was going to get to the bottom of it. They were going to have an investigation. The parents overwhelmingly say they don't feel that the school district and the school itself has done enough to alleviate their concerns. Overwhelmingly, they say this. And they say the people who are responsible for saving their children's life, they haven't completely and fully been held accountable. This is what the parents say. And they told the governor this. And do you think the governor cares? No, he doesn't. He's busy busing migrants to different states, not feeding people who are here in this country, actually waiting for processing. You know, they're trying to make those migrants that they shipped and dropped off in the middle of the sidewalk seem like they had just crossed the border. No, those were people already in a program, waiting for processing. Their processing dates were coming up very soon. And what did the Republican governors in Texas and Florida do? They sent them all throughout the country, where they couldn't make their processing location dates and appointments purposefully. That's the kind of cruel political stunts that Greg Abbott has been doing, that people are sick of. Focusing on critical race theory and transgender bathroom laws, when the grid goes out every 2 weeks in the state. When you have water that's not clean in large parts of Texas. This is what your governor, your leader, chooses to focus on. Beto O'Rourke has said, that's not my focus when I become governor. My focus is going to be on doing the things that the citizens really want done. And I think people are being receptive to that, especially young people. I'm looking at university campus after university campus after university campus after college campus. And it's jam-packed. You had Harry Styles just recently endorsing. I'm telling you, Beto O'Rourke is catching fire. He's going to be the shocker of the night. I'm going to go out on a limb now. If Houston does what Houston needs to do, you turn out in record numbers, Beto O'Rourke will be the next governor of the state of Texas. This is a fact. And in large part, it's going to be due to Houston. Your ground game is crucial, Houston. Continue knocking on those doors. Continue making those phone calls. Continue writing those letters. Continue texting your friends. These are all important things. You know, they say that you have to touch point and basis with a potential voter 7 times in an election. That takes a lot of money. Show your support. Put up a yard sign. Grab a bumper sticker. you have it, make a contribution. $5 or $10 goes a long way, I'll have you know. Do what you need to do, Houston, to ensure you get quality leadership. Because right now in the state of Texas, you don't have good quality leadership. You have leadership that wants to play stunts and games. You have leadership that doesn't want to tackle big important issues. So they distract and divert attention, using immigration, human beings, as pawns in their political game. Look, Greg Abbott will talk about immigration. He's been the governor. Ask yourself, what has he done? You know, he'll deflect. He'll say it's President Biden's fault. But do you remember Houston back in 2018? The whole entire media was talking about a caravan. Go back and look into this. There was a caravan coming up from Honduras and Guatemala. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people in this caravan. This was 2018. Greg Abbott was your governor. President Biden was not your president. It was President Donald Trump. Now, Greg Abbott, the governor, did not blame President Trump for that caravan or people coming across the border. He didn't blame President Trump. You know why he didn't blame President Trump? Because presidents have nothing to do with the border. It is the governor's responsibility to secure their state's border. The federal government sends resources. The states allocate those resources. So, if you didn't blame the previous president for the caravan in 2018, where hundreds of thousands of people entered the country, how are you going to sit there and blame the current president now when the same thing is occurring? If anything, there's only one variable that's remained consistent throughout both presidencies, and that's Greg Abbott not doing a good job, wanting to blame others for his lack of success. And Beto O'Rourke is saying, no, you don't get to have it both ways. You can't not blame President Trump when the caravan came in with hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants. And now that hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants are still coming into the country, you want to blame President Joe Biden. You, Governor, haven't done your job, is what Beto O'Rourke is saying. And that is absolutely the truth. Every time there's an election, Governor Greg Abbott wants to run on immigration and say that he's tough on it. He's doing something about it. But you know what remains consistent? The problem. So if Greg Abbott is not able to fix the problem, why doesn't he just tell the residents and citizens of Texas this? Why does he pretend that somehow he can do it when under two different political party presidencies, he's failed to do it? Houston is wising up to this. And the only person that's got a problem is Governor Greg Abbott. Houston, you get out there and you vote. If there's meetups or organizations for Beto O'Rourke, join in. If you can do Zoom calls, you're concerned about COVID, join the Zoom calls. They do phone banks. Do whatever you need to do so you have a governor that's actually going to, well, wait for it, do their job, and not blame others, not pass the buck off. I would really say that if I was Beto O'Rourke. I would say there was a caravan that came into the country with hundreds of thousands of people in 2018 under President Trump. And Governor Greg Abbott did not blame the president. Now that hundreds of thousands of people are coming into the country, he wants to blame the president. The only equation that has not changed is the amount of people coming into the country through Texas and Greg Abbott's failure to stop it. And he's trying to deflect and distract and point fingers at everyone else when he's the governor of the state. The power grid is not working. It's somebody else's fault. It's not the governor's fault. And I'm like, wait a minute. You have $12 million to bus people to Chicago to create a political stunt during an election year. But you mean to tell me that $12 million couldn't have gone towards fixing the power grid? They have rolling blackouts multiple times in Texas. They try to act like that just happens in California. No. Go to the 3rd Ward, 4th Ward in Houston. Ask the residents, does your electricity remain consistent? And you know what, Houston? You really should stop paying for poor service. This is off topic, but I'm going to say it. Stop paying to be abused. You know what I would do? I would take out a piece of paper, get a pen, pencil, whatever writing utensil you have. And each day that you don't have good electricity, I would notate it. And if it totals up to be more than half the month, you call the electric companies and you tell them the majority of the month I was without basic electrical resources. Therefore, I'm not paying for this month. And you can try to take me to court. I'll show up and I'll tell them why I'm not paying for this. Don't let them continue to abuse you. You know, they say that they don't have the resources because they don't always collect enough in certain areas. Well, in certain areas, you vastly neglect. So why should people pay you for shitty service? The people who already do give, the people you already receive payments from are being fleeced, in my opinion. They're paying for not quality service. Houston, if you're tired of a governor who does nothing but blame others for issues that he's responsible for fixing, please, I implore you, support, organize, and elect Beto O'Rourke to be your next governor. You have 2.3 million citizens. If everybody who's registered in Houston voted, we wouldn't have to worry about another city. We wouldn't have to worry about the rural Republicans, the MAGA cult. We wouldn't have to worry about any of that if everybody took care of their job. So let's not be like the governor and deflect blame on someone else for things we can do. We all know election is in November. We all should know where our polling location is. Check your voter registration. I am hearing that they are taking people off the rolls who have been on the rolls for years, voting every election. Check your registration. They are desperate and they're scared. Check your voter registration. I don't care whether you're voting Republican or Democrat. Check your voter registration. Think about electing people people who are going to want to do the job. Not mired in the same political arguments of the past 50, 60, 70 years. Really wanting to move forward because they're young with creative ideas. Greg Abbott is the past, Houston. Beto O'Rourke is the future. If you want to continue staying in the past, receiving horrible services, and being deflected and rejected, then you support Greg Abbott. If you want to move forward into the future, if you want to start seeing real policies and change implemented, then vote for Beto O'Rourke. It's just that clear. It's nothing about Republican or Democrat. The state of Texas has been controlled by the Republicans forever. I think Ann Richards was the last Democrat governor, and she was a good governor, from what I hear. The people loved her. And you've had one Republican governor after the next. And Texas has really been in decline. They love to talk about how under Republican control their states are so great. The same issues affecting California are affecting Texas. Texas has just as many unhoused people. Listen to what I'm telling you, because this is not what you're going to hear the narrative painted on the news. Texas has just as many unhoused people as the state of California does. This is a fact. Now, why don't they talk about the unhoused population in Texas? Well, twofold. It would deflect and create a new narrative. The new narrative would have to be that unhoused people are a problem throughout America. The old narrative is that unhoused people are only a West Coast problem. So you see how creating a new narrative would mean that all leaders would have to be responsible for doing something about unhoused people, instead of just hearing about how in liberal cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, you've heard the rhetoric before. Homeless people are everywhere in San Francisco and Los Angeles, as though there's not unhoused people in Houston. Everywhere there's tents in Houston, just like Los Angeles. They're deflecting so they don't have to take responsibility and accountability for what's been transpiring, what continues to transpire, and what will be allowed to continue to transpire if they remain in political office. Houston, do your part. Stand up to this. Vote. You know, people say, what's the best way to get out of this? Voting. People say voting has no impact. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Time after time, people continue to vote for people who scare them, who scam them, and who placate to their worst instincts. And therefore, when people who really want to do the job run, they don't get elected. Beto O'Rourke should have been the United States Senator in Texas. He wouldn't have run to Cancun like Ted Cruz did. Now you have another chance. You have another crack at it, Texas. Get rid of Greg Abbott, your governor. He's not going to do anything for you. You've seen this now. Don't just vote for somebody because they have an R or a D next to their name. Vote for the person who's going to actually do something for you. Keep up the good work, Houston. Keep up the good work.